The following podcast is a production of the network. Check us out on bicbp-radio.com.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Shot Takes. I'm not going to point this week because I'm probably going to get it wrong. This is Shot Takes, a sub-show of Hats, Tats, and Stats podcast, which can be found on the bicbp-radio.com network, sponsored by Stenger Sports. For all of your sports needs, if you're a sports team, you need uniforms, you need sweet swag, some awesome gear, check out Stenger Sports. If you're a baseball person, check out their fantastic wood bats, custom gloves, and all their other training equipment. They are a baseball company first, and they offer everything you could possibly need in that realm, and then they stem into other sports with their sweet jerseys, completely customizable. They look awesome. I have a few myself for different teams that I've played on over the years. Go check that out. And with that being said and done out of the way, I, as always, Easy D, Derek Jaws, the main man over at Hats, Tats, and Stats, and I am here to give you some shot takes. Now, all year long, if you follow us, and obviously this is made specifically for the SportsHosts app, but if you follow us on YouTube and you see the upload of this video, if you follow us on any form of social media, you've known all year long that our boy Big Diesel, Nick Yelich, has put out a ranking system that we lovingly, affectionately, and passionately refer to as the TITS. That is the totally indisputable team ranking system. TIT-RS. Obviously, it technically should be TITRS, but we hyphenated it to make it work because who doesn't love a good pair or set of rankings? Ha, fooled you. Thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? So all year long, we put that out, and over the course of the year, Nick has put it out there to really make it better every week. The formula at first was very simple. It was basically wins by possession, losses by possession, and one, maybe two other things. And now it is a long, lengthy mathematical equation that spits out a number at the end, and that number gives you your team's rank for the year. And there were people all year long that saw things like after the Titans beat the Bills, we'll say, as you can tell, and as you know, I'm a big Bills fan. So after the Titans beat the Bills, and then in turn the Bills beat the Seahawks were ranked in front of the Bills. The Bills were ranked in front of the Titans. I believe that's how that went. Either way, the Seahawks-Bills is a great example. The Seahawks were ranked in front of the Bills despite the fact that the Bills pretty much shellacked the Seahawks. And a lot of people gave us how are the Seahawks ranked in front of the Bills? The Bills just beat them. And the shot take that I'm here to talk to you about today is head-to-head play and how it determines ranking. Head-to-head, when you compare two teams individually, is a pretty easy way. Sorry, it looks like looks like I'm just going gray. For those of you playing the home game, apparently the beard is coming back, but apparently I'm starting to show my age a little bit. So I apologize for that little sidebar. When you compare two teams head-to-head, just those two teams, it's easy to say this team is better than this team because this team won. Now, when you look at things like the Dallas Cowboys had a few wins early, the Jets absolutely dismantled somebody near the end of the year. I'm not going to make myself look foolish because I don't really remember. It's a little early, and I'm only on like my second cup of coffee. So I don't think anybody would say the Jets are better than that team. I wholeheartedly believe that, when you see a team like the Jets beat somebody, that's indicative of the parity of the NFL, and that's my point. It's easy to say one team's better than another when you have teams of comparable record and comparable statistics. They play, one team wins, one team loses, and all of a sudden you know who the better team is. That being said, let's take a look at the Browns and Steelers, for example. The Steelers beat them early on. then the Browns won a 2-point game against the Steelers' backups, and you would have a lot of people saying, like, well, listen, we didn't play our starters, and you barely won a game when you were playing for your life. And then the playoffs happened. And oh boy, if you missed the Sunday night game of Wild Card Weekend, you missed a ton, but you didn't miss much because the Steelers did not look good. It took them a long time to get rolling. And when they did, it was too little too late. And a couple times when they looked like there was a little bit of hope, the Browns just kind of turned it up a notch and scored another touchdown and just kept it just out of reach. So you could say in that realm that, the Steelers won the division, but the Browns are the better team. I would probably agree with you, to be honest. The issue is when you start talking about rankings from a head-to-head standpoint, you can't use not when you start talking about rankings in a group sense, I should say. You can't use head-to-head matchups to dictate your rankings. So again, when you say, okay, listen, if the Cowboys played the Chiefs twice and beat them twice, but the Cowboys were 2-14, I don't think anybody would say the Cowboys are the better team there, but you would say, for whatever reason, they just had their number this year. And that plays to that parity that we were talking about. But when you talk about teams like, let's take the bottom of the AFC playoff bracket, where you had the winner of the AFC South, the 5, 6, 7, and first team out, all finished at, I believe, 11-5. Well, how do you rank them? Okay, well, the Titans and the Colts, maybe, I don't know. Did they split this year? Maybe they did. I don't have an easy access way to look this up, but I will try. So, there was just a lot of different. That's what I'm looking for. I apologize for the delay here. Usually I have this stuff at the ready, but I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with this episode of Shot Takes. So my point is, like, you have teams that have played each other. You have teams that haven't played each other. Perfect example, like the Jaguars whooped the Colts early this year. And yeah, so the Colts and the Titans split. And you would say, well, how do you rank one or the other? And then you mix in 4 other teams with the same record. How do you sort that? How do you sort that out? And what that comes down to is other factors, how they played throughout the year. That's why even in divisional play, unless if you have 4 teams that finished 4-1 and they split with each other, how do you sort it out? As soon as there was a point this year, let's take the Bills, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. When the Bills, Steelers, and Chiefs at one point all had the ability of finishing at 13-3, and had that happened, the Bills would have gotten the 1 seed. Well, how does that work when the Chiefs beat the Bills? Well, the Bills also beat the Steelers, and the Steelers and Chiefs didn't play each other, so how do you sort that? And that's why there's other tiebreakers that it comes down to. When it comes to a team ranking, there were a lot of power rankings that had the Bills behind the Colts, or ahead of the Chiefs, I should say, at the end of the year, just because of the way the two teams are playing. Now, when you look at these other statistical values and you put them on paper, that is the only way to sort out teams and their abilities, because now you say, all right, well, the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Bills were, I should say, it's a new season, it's a new day, were people considered the top 3 contenders going into the playoffs after week 17. And, well, how do you rank them 1, 2, and 3? Well, the Chiefs beat the Bills, so they got to be ahead of the Bills. Okay, but if the Bills are playing better football right now than the Packers, but you think the Packers are playing better than the Chiefs, how do you sort that? So my shot take of the day is the fact that head-to-head matchups based solely on the parity of the NFL. That's it. It's the parity of the NFL. A quarterback who had to postpone his exams to start for the Washington football team in a playoff game, gave all the fight in the world in that game. When you talk about not having a starting quarterback, you probably consider a team not even close to being in a game. The other side of that, an injured Jared Goff beat Russell Wilson. After the accountant or whatever, I can't even think of his name. I'm having a bad day. I'm having a rough day with this today, and I apologize. But the Rams starting quarterback was a financial advisor or something until he got taken out of the game, and Goff came in with an injured thumb and beat Russell Wilson, who for a long time was a front runner for the MVP this year. So just the overall parity NFL, when you talk head to head, unless you're specifically talking two teams comparing the two of them to each other, you can say this team is better than the other. But there's so much more that goes into it, especially when you add in at least one more, if not 30 other teams into the equation. That sorts things out. That, you know, you may not like where your team sits, but it doesn't make it any less true. And that is one of the things that we over at Hats, Tats, and Stats want to get out there to people. And, you know, we don't even always necessarily like where our team, which we are all avid Bills fans, are. We may not always be happy with where we sort out. Again, I as a Bills fan, I wasn't happy about beating the Seahawks and then the Seahawks being ahead of us on our own ranking. On our own ranking. We make that ranking. But we say, to hell with your feelings. This is mathematical. Doesn't care how you feel. Doesn't care about your opinion. And this is what it is. And if you, I would be intrigued, and I may do this, and you know, one of these days when I have a little bit of time, I may go back and look through the pictures of our tits and see where teams were and where they finished in relation to an overall season. You know, one of my buddy Manu is not in the SportsHosts app. I don't think he'll ever see this, but his one thing was always, I feel like the Dolphins are better than you're giving them credit for. You know, they're up and coming, they're playing well. Right, but until that point, they were just okay. And at the end of the season, they ended up being just okay, because despite a little hot spot in there, they fizzled out near the end, and that's why they ended up missing the playoffs. So I'm intrigued to see where, you know, the start of that is and where it ended. And also, you know, when it's easy to start getting lost in fandom when you talk rankings, but when you do rankings the right way, or when you do tiebreakers the right way, you know, it's hard to argue with what comes out at the end of the day, because, you know, your feelings can get in the way. They can muddle your perception of the world. And really, a good ranking, a good finishing rank should be indicative of an entire body of work, not just where you ended up. I don't think anybody would say that the Washington football team is a top 10 team, yet they were the 4 seed in the NFC. And that's, one, because they won their division. 2, they did come on at the end of the year with good, stout defense, but I still don't think that team is a top 10 team. But somebody who's a fan of the football team may say differently, because, well, they're my team. They're close to top 5. If we just had a quarterback, we would have done better. Or if so-and-so didn't get hurt. And every team can say that. Every team on the planet can say that. And to that I say, the Browns just won a football game without head coach. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Shot Takes. That is all for me right now. And I like to keep these short, quick, to a point, not rambling on like we tend to do sometimes on the podcast. That being said, please go check out Hats, Tats, and Stats. Every click, every listen is 100% appreciated by all of you. Give us a listen if you have something to say, if you have something you want to chime in on, if you have an opinion you want to get out there, shoot me a message, shoot me a text. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And I look forward to doing this again, hopefully celebrating another Bills W on Saturday night, primetime, against Lamar and the Ravens. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.